Welcome to Social Links OSINT interview. My name is Dmitry Danilov, also known as Saksoy. I'm head of Center of Excellence in Social Links. Today with us, Jörn Weber, former criminal police chief inspector, experienced OSINT investigator and trainer, and managing director at Corma. Hi, Jörn.
Hi, Dmitry.
I know you as a real expert in OSINT investigations, so could you please share with our viewers a bit more about you, about your path and investigation career?
Yeah, sure. Well, I started my career, it's in two pieces. I started in the German police as a patrol officer and did all the normal stuff, accidents and so on, and then I promoted into the CID, the Criminal Investigation Department. That included some studies, so I studied criminalistics and this kind of investigation-related topics. And then I started as an investigator in Düsseldorf Police Department, working on fraud, homicide, and of course, since I'm very well connected to computer, with the first computer crime stuff. Yeah, and from there I created the first German police website. Somebody saw that and said, okay, I need this guy outside of the police, and he more or less pulled me away from this police job that I had, and I started with Corma as a consulting company in investigations. And today we work as a corporate, we work for corporate clients in the world. We support corporate security departments with investigations in areas where they don't want to work or they cannot work. And that's what we do for about 20 years now. And the second part is the training part. I started training my own people because I was thinking, okay, where do I get experienced investigators from, and how can I make sure that they know what I want them to know? So we started with these trainings, and then later we opened up these trainings to our clients, and that's what we do today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for sharing. I'm sure that for the many years of your experience, you had a lot of interest in unusual cases of investigations and researches. Could you share a couple with our viewers?
Yeah, sure. I remember very well one case where at the end it was also about sources, so things you need in investigations. Actually, the client asked us to find out who is behind the website. And part of that website were some Twitter accounts. So this is a couple of years back. And actually, the result was that we identified 6 people that were spread all over the world, and they were working against the products of this company, so kind of circumventing this protection of these devices and so on. And one of the guys, he registered the website, and from the beginning on it was like a privacy protection. Mm-hmm. But I went at that time, I think it was domain tools, and when I went back to the very first registration, so the first one was privacy protected, so nothing for me, unfortunately, but I checked all the other data that came later, and really for about 3 weeks, this website registration data were open. And then we found this guy with another email address, with his real address in the Netherlands, and so on and so on. And that brought all the light, the connections into this case. So that was really all about the who-is data. And since that time, I'm a big fan of historical who-is data, and I use them today. In other cases, that we worked on was warranty fraud. We did that for a big client, and that was an interesting mix because it was not only OSINT, checking out what we know about people. It was also about analytical work. So we had like kind of transaction data, and we had to find a pattern in this data that leads us to some fraud suspicion against some people. And then we had to check, okay, who are those people? And then we had to do like on-site visits, interviews, so really a mix of not only behind the computer, but also on-site in different countries of the world. The first case I remember we finished with resolving 2 million euros back to the client. And I regretted that I did not work on percentage. The day rate was the deal, and I said, okay, next time I know it better. So this were just 2 examples.
Yeah, very great stories. Thank you. Your stories made me think that in investigation work there are some key things, some areas that helps a lot to conduct investigations, to make them more effective. Can you share some tips with us?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the most important points is the structured approach or a workflow that you have. So that's what you need from my point of view. So you need to follow your workflow because especially in OSINT, in internet investigations, you easily jump left, right, up, down, and you lose track. So in the forest, your GPS is maybe not working very well and you don't know where you are actually. So I'm a big fan of structure. I get lost all the time, but I need to go back and say, okay, where I am. Do I review Google search results or do I check leak data? That's a different thing, and then collect this stuff in a structured format. Yeah, I can only recommend to have your report document already open so you can put the important things already inside. And the other part is about data analytics. Yeah, so you use in a small way. So use, for example, API data to collect search engine results and digest them before in a spreadsheet in the easiest way or in more sophisticated software, merge them, and then start reviewing search page or search engine results. That's really a nice approach, and we do it all the time. And at the end, you can give all relevant URLs to a customer in a nice list and show him what you checked and what you found. And from my point of view, customers like that. They don't review it, but they like that they get this transparency. So this data analytics part with the structure, that's my key point that I would make.
So it looks like that at least we have two different roles in OSINT investigations and researches. It's someone who is searching for information, someone who analyzes it. So maybe there are more roles, and can you, from your experience, tell a couple of words about difference between these roles and common things in this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think if you draw a Venn diagram, you would have, I think, 3 circles that would overlap between 2, but in the center there are 3 overlaps where all 3 circles overlap. And I think that's actually where I see myself try to be, because learning from all the different things, like from intelligence analysts. Well, I did my training as an investigator, so I learned from myself, but also from a researcher who is researching a topic of interest. And I think these are the different roles that have overlap, and it's difficult to separate them. But the most important thing is to learn from each other. So, for example, I learned a lot from OSINT trainings that I did from real in the analytical world, like for EU, European Parliament, that people work for them and do research for them. And I was participating in trainings with these guys, and totally different task. But I learned from their thinking how they approach a research. And that's why I think you have these different roles. Investigative role, or clearly gathering the facts, go very deep, go even maybe in a gray area like leak databases and so on. You go into paid areas with paid tools and all the stuff. An OSINT analyst maybe does not do that, but can. It really depends on the role that he has. If he works for a secret service, yeah, okay, I'm sure they go deeper than an investigator maybe. But others stay on a surface level and collect data in a different way. And they, for example, an OSINT analyst, I think they are very, very good in monitoring topics over a longer time period, gathering the intelligence. I mean, that's their purpose. They want to know where is this organization heading, what are the people, what are they doing for long term. And investigations, at least my case, are mostly short term. Well, and then we have this researcher who's not interested in persons or whatever, but he's looking on the topic. Yeah, so the topic of AI and OSINT. You can use AI, for example, for OSINT investigations, but more for the topic area. I think that's interesting to use, and the researcher would use this kind of things. So that's the 3 roles that I see.
Okay, so you said about roles, but it's also very interesting topics about structure of investigation. So these 3 persons or one person, yeah, should make some investigation very quickly and efficiently. And I'm sure that you have some structure in your mind. Could you share, please, with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of structure and checklists and workflows, and I think that's critical. So there are many people, very good people, who share large repositories of giant link collections. Okay, this is the biggest OSINT collection ever. Well, it's fantastic, but it's not useful for work. It's before work stuff. Yeah, so you can use this excellent stuff to collect your own workflow. So you need to know, okay, what kind of sources do I need? The way you start, the tools you have, the sources you have, the paid tool sources, for example, can you afford them? If not, okay, then put them on your list. Makes no sense, yeah, if you cannot afford them. So that is, for me, absolutely critical, and that's my key knowledge also that I share in my investigations courses, in my OSINT trainings, to make sure to put the tools in the right connection. For example, Maltego is not the case-solved software. I know Steffen from Maltego, he will say, yeah, it is, but he is a sales guy. I'm not the sales guy. I say, well, Maltego is a fantastic tool, but it has its place in my chain, in my checklist. And it's connecting me to sources that I typically don't have with others. And that's why it's in a certain role. So for example, for a personal investigation, I start typically with company checks. So if this person is related to former or current businesses, that would probably give me his complete private address, his date of birth, so much more than I had before. And this workflow is something you need to produce for your own, depending on your country. If you are looking into Austria, Russia, Germany, Israel, whatever country, you need to find the sources that give you a rich amount of data and links and interesting stuff, and then you compile your own workflow and you stick to that. And from this workflow, you start working through the single steps that you have, and then you need to be prepared. For example, I invested a lot of time in our report templates, where I can directly, things that I'm very sure about, I put directly into this report, so I don't forget them. Mm-hmm. The other part is evidence collection. You need to be prepared using tools like Hunchly, Discovery from Periscope is a nice one, or a new one I didn't track. It's called OSINT Tracker. I need to find out how good that is. Mm-hmm. So you need evidence collection, you need the reporting, you need visualization tools that help people to understand your primary findings. Yeah, and that's also something I have typically open. So I have my browser, my Word document, and my visualization tool that helps me to connect the dots, the people I put on there, the companies, and how and why are they connected. Yeah, and then finally you need to know what is a target for your customer. So what is he doing with this thing? So when you define the task, that drives also your workflow, because when you know they want to share it with the court and with law enforcement, you have to be very picky what you put inside and about the sources you used, and if you want to mention that or not. So this definition is the first step. Who is this for, and what is this person doing with the result? And that drives the whole workflow, including the time that you have. I can spend days on a company, but typically the customer don't want to spend so much money, so we have to be a little bit selective within the workflow, say, okay, we do this, but not this. And I think that's the most important thing.
Wonderful advices. Thank you. So you mentioned OSINT resources that are very important for an investigator. And my question is why good sources and good tools are essential for OSINT work?
Yeah, I think they are really essential because of the data quality and the time effect. So what I mean is, if you use professional sources that are typically very well sorted, where everything is inside, you have the time advantage. It's much quicker, you find everything in one place, and if you can afford it, it's really a good thing. So for example, Open Corporates is a great collection of data, but it's not complete, it's not current. So the German company data is a snapshot from, I don't know, 2 years ago. So it does not tell you if this person is owning this company today. So if that is important for you, you need to find other sources that are more up to date, that are more reliable for that. And typically, especially in the area of company investigations, you have to pay a lot of money for those tools because they know what kind of treasure they have with these things. And the same is with the topic of leaks, breaches, info stealer collection. there is a lot of interest in there, and there are many possibilities. But also you have a difference, for example, known tools they have maybe, or solutions on the web have maybe 14 billion records. And I currently work with 2 companies that have more than 120 billion records. So they imported really every kind of breach and leak that you can think of. And that makes it really interesting to see when you enter your target data, your email that you're looking on, or an alias name, what you can find. Because the open doors, the back doors to social media accounts, they are more and more closed. It's more and more difficult to get things from there. So that's another great opportunity within this resources where you can find stuff. So I think these are really two important areas where good sources, if you can afford them, they help you to deliver professional results and in a very short time.
From my experience, it's a big % of success, but it's not enough because you should have some skills. And what do you think about skills and things that good OSINT specialist or a professional should have to make a proper OSINT investigation?
Yeah, if I can paint my wish list or my wish investigator or whatever, how you call it, I think a top skill is analytical thinking or logical thinking. Yeah, I mean, everybody has a different way of thinking logical, but you need to understand a little bit the context of stuff and see if that is really logical and what else can be done. The other point is persistence. I mean, I saw another word is staying power. Yeah, that's what my wife just told me this morning when we talked about the preparation of the interview. I said, what are the skills? And she said, well, you need to be persistent. You need to stay on the topic. And actually the other point she mentioned, and she works in the same area, is you need to have a good base knowledge about things. But of course there are things where you have no idea. I mean, how is the world of companies, as I said, in Austria? How does it work, registering companies in Austria? What can we find out about companies in Austria or Portugal, for example? And then you need to have the capability to learn quickly, which means before you start your research, you need to teach yourself and to do your own research about, for example, naming conventions in Portugal, which are very difficult for Western European people like me. Language skills is another thing, so it doesn't hurt if you speak more than 2 languages, so your main language and English and maybe a third one. Definitely in this world now, if you speak Arabic, if you speak Russian or Ukrainian or Israeli, Hebrew, that would be an advantage to get a very fast job in these critical days that we have. So language skills are really a top skill. And finally, because the product we deliver is a written report. So it's really critical to have some writing skills. You don't need to be an author, but you need to play with the words and maybe use the tools that help you to do that with Grammarly or stuff. So the report is what we sell, so it has to be perfect.
But not the ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and the last question for this time, I think, how to stay updated on the latest news, tools, trends, and so on. Could you give some advices to OSINT professionals how to improve their skills and knowledge?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an important part because, I mean, these things change so fast. So I love to learn from colleagues and from other trainers and from other investigators. So I have a list of my favorite blogs that I follow, and I'm happy to share that, so we can put that below the video for people to check them out if they like them as well. I do that via RSS, like tools like InnoReader or Feedly are very perfect for that, I would say. I need to make sure that I don't spend too much time on that, because there are always things that they recommend stuff, and okay, no, you need to find out, okay, are they important for you, yes or no? I also work with Readwise. That's another tool I like because that's easy to collect all the stuff, and then you need to process it, which is a more difficult part. Collecting is easy, but processing is a little bit more difficult. But so I have my RSS feeds. Everything I find, I capture with Readwise. The other point is I work with a dozen, I would say, colleagues very close in Germany and international colleagues, and we exchange information about new tools or things they found, and that's also very important. And I just started for the German-speaking community. I'm working on what I call an OSINT mastery circle, where people who participate in my trainings and also other experienced investigator can meet 1 or 2 times per month and then discuss people. It's not about training, but discuss topics and maybe new trends, like I mentioned OSINT tracker as a new tool. I haven't checked it out, but my friend Bruno did, so I will chat with Bruno about that stuff, and that is super helpful. If you have a small community, you don't need thousands of people. Good people that you can trust, that can add different perspectives to your work, and that's really the key.
Great thoughts, great thoughts. Thank you, Jörn. Thank you for visiting us for this interview. I think it was not the last time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. It was Social Links OSINT interview. Stay tuned. We will make more and more such interviews. And follow the links in description. Jörn shared with us a lot of interesting materials. And of course, we will attach a lot of links to our articles, papers, and even tools. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Thumbs up. Bye.